Suture, there's an explicit effort to introduce greater nuance into discussions about the politics of trauma narratives. As you call for that space, indeed, Suture is a work that creates such a space. So I wonder how you set about making this space and what was at stake.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake. I'll say, I think the biggest risk is that there's the possibility of resituating a causal narrative in relationship to trauma. And I've definitely been asked this when I had presented various pieces of the work at different stages, where people might misunderstand my argument and think that I'm saying that trauma caused, trauma can cause a trans sensibility or an asexual orientation. And I don't know whether or not it does. It is unimportant to me. And I think that the way that I tried to do that in Suture, one thing, especially in terms of asexuality, a lot of that resistance to say this is for somebody to say my asexuality is not the result of trauma or abuse is because people are so often told that it is, that people feel like they have to justify and defend asexuality. And so one of the things I did in this book was I refused to explain or justify the existence of asexuality. I just let it be throughout the book. And as I talked about, I kind of, in some ways, I think it was more quietly there. And then sometimes I addressed it more directly. And it's part of this messy web, because it's, there's also, the book is also grappling with transness, and it's also grappling with chronic pain and illness, and all of these things that can often be linked to like explanatory causal trauma narratives, right? But the thing about that is that there's like this kind of exceptionalization that happens where plenty of people, for all intents and purposes, we might say who might identify as cisgender or heterosexual, right, have experienced trauma, and nobody says, oh, is that why, right? Like, did that trauma make you straight? And so, refusing that sense of what made you a certain way, and again, coming right to the idea that we're always becoming and we're always being undone. So everything is always making and unmaking us in some way, and I'm really not interested in treating the things that we might hold on to describe or define ourselves. I'm not in treating those things as symptoms or things to be cured, which is another thing that I grapple with, that movement between poison and cure, right, or being fixed in some way. And so the stakes are, how do you hang out in that ambivalence of sometimes wanting the treatment, right, without wanting the cure necessarily, and without wanting to explain something that needs to be cured through, especially as a result of trauma. But that trauma, again, is ever present, right? We're all living in trauma times, so we're all kind of already grappling with that.